It's Wednesday here on Bearcats Daily. Welcome in, everybody. I am your host, as always, Blake Thornton, and we're here to talk about all things UC sports related. A little bit of an update to start off today's show. Brennan Sorsby has now added a second lawsuit to his college career. Currently has one lawsuit going with the University of Cincinnati, still obviously over the $1 million buyout. He did get a pretty prominent lawyer in terms of sports. Jeffrey Kessler is his attorney that will be taking care of all that. But basically, they're suing the NCAA to try to get an injunction filed to either get his eligibility sustained. Can't think of the right word. But basically, they want to get reinstated. There it is. You can tell this isn't edited, right? But they're going to get him reinstated to the NCAA. Now, it is either going to get him reinstated or they have to make a decision because the supplemental draft is coming up in June. So he needs to find out what his college career, whether it is or is not still over. But he has an affidavit that he signed and sworn on that about the sports betting that he did while he was at Indiana. Now, the he bet on Indiana. There is proof of that. And he was saying that he felt more connected to the team. He was a scout team quarterback, had no chance of playing in his mind. So to be better connected to the team, he thought he would bet on Indiana football while he was there. It is a hard rule set in 2023 that you cannot gamble on your team. It is a loss of eligibility if you are caught. So he can file the injunctions only once. We know that that is true. They have evidence of this. He swore an affidavit to it. So the fact that the NCAA still has not come out with this is really kind of odd, even though his lawyers are trying to spin it as the NCAA is trying to use him as an example instead of trying to better him through the rehab and all that. I'm sorry, but you can do both. Guess what? You break the law, you go to jail. It doesn't matter if you go to rehab or not. If you are caught doing something, you must pay the price. So he can file all the lawsuits he wants. The fact of the matter is he did what he did. They have proof of it. He has sworn on to it. He's probably done with college football. I do agree that they do need to make the announcement so he can get the supplemental draft if need be, because that is coming up for the deadline for that. So I get it. I get what he's doing, and I'm not really judging him on that. Now, with that being said, we've been on this show, almost a month now. We have never talked about the most prominent figure of really UC campus as a whole. There's one or two buildings that people are like, yeah, that's an iconic building, especially the one that sits in the southern end zone back behind. I'm not sure the name of that name of that building, and I should know it, and I apologize. But we haven't talked about Nippert Stadium. I mean, it's the Wrigley Field of college football. And by that, I mean it's historic, the idea of it, the age. Wrigley's got the ivy and the brick. We just have the brick. I think we still have the brick. Haven't been to Nipper in a couple years. Probably need to, though. But yeah, we've not really talked about it much. It goes all the way back to 1901, where it was just like a swampy marsh area. In Burnett Woods is what it was called at the time. They cleared it out and just basically fans would sit on a woody or grassy hill and just watch them play on the field. In 1910, they decided to name the playing field as Carson Field after Dr. Arch Carson, who some would say the architect of Cincinnati football. And they play like that for, a couple years. Now remember, it's been a long time, so you're going to hear stuff. You're like, really? They used to do that? Times have changed. You don't have these monuments to sports back then. In 1915 and 16, they do finally put in concrete permanent stands that kind of basically established the stadium aspect of it. So 1915, 1916 is where the stadium really comes into it. They play like that, and they play with the concrete stands and more of a stadium structure as we know it until 1923. This is actually stuff that I did not know that I'm about to share with you. So it's cool to be learning some things when you know some of the history, but not all of it. 1923, there was a center that played for the University of Cincinnati named Jimmy Nippert. I know, right? And Jimmy, during a game against Miami of Ohio, I believe it was a Thanksgiving game, muddy, kind of wet, kind of just, rough day. Jimmy winds up getting a bad cut on his leg, very deep. And he would develop a fatal case of blood poisoning and unfortunately passes away. A year later, in 1924, Jimmy's grandpa, Jimmy Nippert's grandpa, is James Gamble. And for those of you familiar with Cincinnati, Procter and Gamble, the same one. James Gamble of Procter and Gamble donated $250,000 at that time to finish the stadium, which got finished in November 8th, 1924. So, the main stadium of Nippert Stadium that we know it, the renovation, the horseshoe style, finished in November 8th, 1924, thanks to James Gamble of Procter and Gamble, the grandfather of Jimmy Nippert, the center, and would dedicate the naming of that stadium to his grandson. It's a tragedy, and it's crazy to think about stuff like that happening in today's game. But it's definitely a somber moment, but also it's, especially growing up, I only knew it as Nippert Stadium. I never knew the reason behind it, and it is sad, but it's also I can appreciate it as somebody who hopes to one day leave my own mark on this world to be remembered in one way, shape, or form. This college kid at the time playing football happens to get just a very deep, serious cut on his leg that winds up being the reason his life goes, and he's still remembered to this day. So I do love that. I think it's an awesome thing. Nippert Stadium is the fourth oldest playing site, and it's the third oldest stadium in NCAA. Always thought it was the oldest, but it's still the third. So take that for what it's worth. Some fun little things that happened over time. In 1968, 1969, Nippert Stadium was the home playing field for the Cincinnati Bengals. And it basically wasn't really touched as a stadium. You get into the 80s, the stadium was almost condemned because it was just so dilapidated. They needed to upgrade it, or it was honestly going to get torn down and condemned. There was renovations done in the late 80s. The campus and school administrators did decide to finally upgrade it, get it renovated so they could keep the stadium. So we were very close to not having Nippert anymore as we know it. But they did, renovate it and kind of how we remember it for most of our lifespan for that time period. And then you get to 2015, they put $86 million into the stadium, into Nippert. They add the brand new press box and suites and upgrade some of the stands as well. And then a year later, they had to do a little bit of field expansion because they would be hosting at the time USL FC Cincinnati. So Nippert over the years really has gone through a lot of changes. But for historically over 100 years, it's been the mainstay. There's been, as UC's expanded their campus a little bit, Nippert was the focal point, the center of campus. And still to this day, it remains open. If you're a student there, or even personally, I've gone down a couple times with friends, you can go on the field and play football, ultimate frisbee. It's very cool that it's open and students and fans can kind of, go down there and just, imagine what it's like to be there at a full-time, student athlete. Nippert, to me, is one of the hardest places to play in terms of capacity to crowd noise and atmosphere. We don't have these colossal coliseums, like the Shoe, where they're holding over 100,000 fans. But I would say that it's just as hard to play at Nippert as it would be the Shoe. It is I call it a concrete jungle. If you're familiar with Elder, they have a real concrete bowl. But everything is very close together. It's a loud atmosphere. You hear everything. The fans are right there. It's a great, great place to play football. And we are very blessed to have that here in Cincinnati as well. And with, having these historic places, you really hope to see some historic talent come through, which UC has. And people need to remember that. It's not the stadium, the team. Even with the down times, there is a lot of history with UC. And we're hoping to make more as we come into this season because a hometown kid will be the leader of the running back room this year now that Pryor has moved to Florida. Jabrian Payne, who was a redshirt senior, hometown kid, went to LaSalle High School. I do remember his commitment day when he signed. There was a big thing on the news and went around. So we're going to have a hometown kid coming back. He spent a lot of time in Notre Dame, but he came home to finish his career. And I'll be excited to see him work. The coaches are excited with him. He's very veteran mindset, very present with his idea that, hey, I've got to be here and be the leader. They've talked about him multiple times with his maturity and his ability to show up with a pro-ready mindset is impeccable in this league. He's 5'10", 210 pounds, so he's a big running back. Big, strong, physical running style that he'll be a lot of ground and pound with him. He's not going to get outside and try to juke and jive. He's a power back. He's going to run hard, finish, and always fall forward. That's an extra 2 or 3 yards of rush falling forward. That adds up. One of the things in his scouting report for this year that I was very surprised at, but it's going to fit in well, he's got a pass protection that scouts are calling ready for the NFL, which means he's stepping up in front of the quarterback to take on a linebacker or pick up an extra D lineman and basically become a blocker. And that's a big thing, especially with our offense, where UC's kind of more of a spread offense. He's going to have to pass block. And it's a talent that I don't think a lot of running backs focus on, but it can really help you get looks and get opportunities to play. A comparison of that, Samaje Perine for the Bengals. He went Bengals, Chiefs, Bengals as he came back. His pass protection is amazing. And from where I sit at the stadium, I'm able to see the running backs, sitting in the end zone. I pick up a lot of things. He has stepped up into that hole. He will bash heads with anybody. And I see Payne as that same player. He'll be the starting running back, obviously, but he's a power back. Samaje Perine is definitely somebody I would show in comparison with him. And as we see him develop here in this final season with him being a senior, I'm really hoping that it shows through that skill set and he gets a lot of playing time on the field. So that'll be for sure a big bright spot for this season. Because, obviously our running back room's been pretty good the last couple years. They do running back by committee, but there is typically a starter, and he will probably lead the running back room. They have a couple guys come in. They got a lot of running backs on the roster. So early on, especially in fall camp and all that, we may see a lot of guys getting some first team reps. Jabrian Payne, all things considered, should be our starter heading into it. But at least that gives us an idea. We at least know who's going to play where, and they can build on that through practice and camp. But, as always, for this week, we are going to be doing the buy and sell portion of this team. And I have 2 for today that were submitted. I did not write down their username, so I do apologize. Please claim credit for yourselves in the comments for it. But, first one, buy or sell. 2 feet must be down in the field to be a catch, no longer 1. I'm buying this. I truly believe that the 1 foot rule for college is pointless. High school, well, I'll give you the benefit of the doubt for high school. But in college, it's all about getting to that next level, and you really should have guys working on their footwork to get both feet down. And we've heard receivers talk about coming into the fall camp after they get drafted, and they're like, yeah, that 2 feet thing really changes how you go up after balls and, the way you control your body. And it would be better to see these guys get that done in college than it would be in the NFL. That's a personal belief, but I'm buying that we need to change that rule to 2 feet down for a catch instead of 1. There's already enough BS when it comes to catches. Let's just do, both feet inbounds, no longer 1. Let's get universal on that. And I'm going to extend this just a little bit with this one. I don't like the moment they go down, they're down. I don't like that. So not only am I buying, changing the 2 feet, let's get rid of the down without contact. You need to be down by contact in college. Again, personal belief. That's just where I'm at with that. Now, we're going to finish with one more, and we're kind of this one goes into a little more of college basketball, but buying or selling that the March Madness expansion for the tournament size is a good thing. I deliberated on this for about 15 minutes where I was just sitting there going over things about, the good and bad aspects of this, and I'm buying them moving the field to add a couple more teams. Here's why. The first 4 is always held in Dayton. I'm pretty sure it's always held in Dayton and one other place, I think. But my reason for this is that, yes, it's adding more teams, but it's giving these venues, especially the first 4, a little bit more opportunities to host. That I'm okay with. And you will have heard in a previous episode I said with the college football playoff expansion about being about money. That is actually, I think, where I'm going to change for the basketball and agree with here because it doesn't change the length of the tournament. It doesn't make the season go longer. We already will have the first 4 games going on the same days. All we're doing is adding a game or two to the time slots of that day. So instead of going Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday for the first couple rounds, we're going Tuesday to Sunday. That for me is fun. That is just, we're already going to have those days of basketball anyway. So we're just kind of filling the whole day with it. And yes, it does get some other teams into the tournament. Yes, they're going to make money. And I've said that's a bad thing about football, but football is such a long, drawn out BS with their college football playoff. And I know you can't run it like you run basketball. Obviously, football is much more physically demanding. You got to have time off. I get it. That's not my complaint here. My complaint is they draw that football playoff out and everything so long. There's just no point. There's just no freaking point to how long they have that drawn out. So I'm buying the expansion for March Madness. I like it. I think it'll give a couple more places chances to host that first 4 and get a little bit of, spotlight in there. Make a little, money for the campus, obviously. That is a good thing. I'm not ever going to, say that doing that's bad. But you've already got those days for basketball. You're already going to have games that night. Adding a couple more is not the worst thing in the world. So, to me, I'm buying. I'm buying expanding the college basketball March Madness. Just for the simple fact, we've already got those days. It's not going to extend anything. We're just adding to it. College football, you want to expand more, you're going to basically be taking away regular season games or you're expanding the playoffs because you can't do that many games. Football's not like basketball where you can play every other day. And it's still hard to play every other day. It's a grind to play that tournament. That's why you get almost a week off after, once you get through the round of 32 on that Sunday. You basically you're off until Thursday and Friday of the next week. So there's a lot of time to go into there as well. But I do appreciate you joining us today here on Bearcats Daily. Thank you to Fan Arch as always. Appreciate the opportunity to do this. Make sure, if you haven't already, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. Any questions, or I'd love to hear your thoughts and opinions on some of these things, please leave in the comments below. And until next time, you guys take care. Have a good one.